The Class A inspection will be divided by 3 parts. You'll get one of the 3 parts on the test, which is randomly chosen. After you do one of the 3 parts, you will be doing the cabin inspection mandatory and the coupling inspection mandatory.
Front of vehicle.
Okay, we'll be starting off with Part A. Part A will be from the door hinge to the front, including all lights, engine compartment, and the front axle. Okay, we'll start Part A with lights. We're going to check all the lights, starting off with your marker lights. Marker lights should be clean, secure, not cracked, and proper color. Marker lights. Then we got the lights in the front. You got your headlights, high beams, right and left blinker, and your 4-way flashers. Clean, secure, no cracks, and proper color. Then underneath the truck, we should have no leaks. No leaks underneath the truck.
Front of vehicle. Engine compartment.
Now in the engine compartment, we're going to start off with the tanks. You have your power steering reservoir and you have your engine coolant reservoir. Okay, so power steering reservoir, securely mounted, cap present, no leaks, and proper level. And your engine coolant reservoir, same thing. Securely mounted, cap present, no leaks, and proper level. Power steering reservoir, engine coolant reservoir. Now your hoses. Your hoses are in general, all hoses, except these 2 hoses that go to the gearbox. These are going to be the same as the others, but we talk about them together with the gearbox and the rest in general. So all hoses should be securely clamped, no bubbles, no cuts, no leaks. All hoses the same, securely clamped, no bubbles, no cuts, no leaks. Hoses. And these 2 will be the same, but when we talk about the gearbox. Now your dipsticks. Your dipsticks is only the engine oil dipstick. Point at it and make sure it's in proper level. Engine oil dipstick. Okay, next we have our air compressor. Your air compressor should be securely mounted, no missing bolts and nuts, no leaks, and it's gear driven. Air compressor. Next piece will be your power steering pump. Power steering pump, we can't really see it, so we'll follow the hose from the power steering reservoir. Follow it down, it leads to the pump. And power steering pump is also securely mounted, not missing any bolts and nuts, not leaking, and it's gear driven. Power steering pump. Now here we have our alternator. Alternator will be securely mounted, no missing bolts and nuts, no bends, no cracks, and belt driven. Alternator. And you have the alternator wires right next to it. Wires are present, secure, and not frayed or damaged. Wires. And you have your water pump underneath. Water pump securely mounted, no missing bolts and nuts, no leaks, and belt driven. Water pump. And lastly, we have the belt. Belt secure, not frayed or damaged, and no more than 3/4 inch of plate. Belt.
Front of vehicle. Steering.
Okay, next we have our gearbox with the 2 hoses. So gearbox is also securely mounted, no missing bolts and nuts, no leaks, and gear driven. Gearbox. And the 2 hoses just like the other ones. Hoses securely clamped, no bubbles, no cuts, no leaks. Hoses. And we have our steering linkage. Steering linkage includes all the steering bars together. Then we're going to have steering linkage secure with castle nuts and cotter pins. No bends, no cracks, no illegal welds. Steering linkage.
Front of vehicle. Front suspension.
Next we have our shock absorbers. Shock absorbers will be securely mounted at the top and the bottom. No bends, no cracks, no leaks. Shock absorber. Then we move on to our leaf spring hanger. Leaf spring hanger will be securely mounted at the front and the back. no missing bolts and nuts, no bends, no cracks, no illegal welds. Leaf spring hanger. Our leaf springs. Leaf springs securely mounted, not missing, not shifted, not cracked. Leaf springs. And we have our U-bolts. U-bolts are present, secure, no missing nuts. Present, secure, no missing nuts. U-bolts.
Front of vehicle. Front brakes.
And we have our brake chamber. Brake chamber will be securely clamped, no bends, no cracks, no leaks. Brake chamber. And our brake hose. Brake hose secured to the fittings. No bubbles, no cuts, no leaks. Brake hose. And we move on to our push rod and slack adjuster. Push rod, slack adjuster. Securely mounted, no missing parts, no damage, no more than 1 inch of play. Push rod and slack adjuster. Now we have our brake lining and brake drum. Brake lining no less than 1/4 inch or not dangerously thin, not damaged or cracked. Brake lining or brake shoe. And right next to it you have your brake drum. Brake drum securely mounted, no bends, no cracks, no illegal welds. Brake drum. And between your brake lining and brake drum you should have no debris. No debris in between.
Front of vehicle. Front axle.
Our front tires. Front tires must be brand new, cannot be recap or retread. Tire tread no less than 432. Front of the tire shouldn't be no bubbles, cuts, or damage. Now your rim. Rim is securely mounted, no bends, no cracks, no illegal welds. Rim. And your lug nuts. Lug nuts are all present, secure, no signs of rust. Lug nuts. And you have your axle seal. Axle seal securely mounted, no missing bolts, no leaks, cap present, and proper level. Axle seal. And last thing here is your valve and stem. Valve and stem should have a cap, not damaged, and no leaks. Valve and stem. And we would check the air with an air pressure gauge. Air pressure should be recommended by manufacturer.
Fuel area underside. Driver fuel area.
Now we're going to start off part B. If you get part B, we're going to start off with the mirror. Mirror should be securely mounted, not cracked, and clean. Mirror. And your window. Your window should be secure, not cracked, clean, and should work properly. Window. Your cabin door. Cabin door is secure, it's not dented, no cracks, and it's also working properly. Your door latchet. Door latchet secure, not damaged, and also working properly. Door latchet. Now you got your hinges. Hinges are present, secure, not damaged, and no missing pins. Hinges. And your seal gasket. Seal gasket should be present, secure, not damaged or frayed. Seal gasket. And your grab handles. Grab handles present, secure, no damage. Grab handles. Okay, next we have our fuel tank. Fuel tank has to be securely mounted to the frame with the saddle straps. No cracks, no holes, cap present, and not leaking. Fuel tank. And your steps. Steps are securely mounted, no bends, no cracks, no debris, free of debris. Steps. And underneath your tank should have no leaks. No leaks underneath your fuel tank.
Fuel area underside. Under vehicle.
Next you have your frame. Your frame should be secure, not bent, not cracked, not dented. And your cross member. Cross member also secured to the frame, no missing bolts and nuts, not bent, dented, or cracked. Cross member. And you have your exhaust. Exhaust is securely mounted, no missing bolts and nuts, no holes, no leaks into the cabin. Exhaust or muffler. Here we have our transmission bar or our drive shaft. Your drive shaft should be secure, not bent, twisted, dented, or damaged in any kind of way. Drive shaft. And you have your universal joints. They should be secure, free of debris, and fully greased. Universal joints and your drive shaft.
Fuel area underside. Rear axle.
Next we have the tires. Tires here could be recapped, could be recapped. Tire tread is 2/32, no less than 2/32 tire tread. And in front of the tire should be no bubbles, cuts, or any sort of damage. Now your rim. Rim should be securely mounted, no bends, no cracks, no illegal welds. Rim. Lug nuts should be all present, secure, no signs of rust. Lug nuts. And your axle seal or your hub seal, securely mounted, no missing bolts and nuts, no damage, no leaks. Valve and stem. Valve and stem should have cap, no damage, no leaks. Valve and stem. And then I would tell them I would check my air with an air pressure gauge. And your air pressure recommended by manufacturer. Between both tires, your rims should be together. No space between your rims, and it should be free of debris.
Fuel area underside. Rear suspension.
Here we have the leaf spring hanger or the leaf spring mount. Securely mounted at the front and the back. No missing bolts and nuts, no bends, no cracks, not dented, no illegal welds or any sort of damage. Leaf spring hanger. Now you got your leaf springs. Leaf springs securely mounted, not missing, not shifted, and not cracked. Leaf springs. And you have U-bolts. U-bolts present, secure, no missing nuts. U-bolts. And now we have shock absorbers. Shock absorbers securely mounted at the top and the bottom. No bends, no cracks, no leaks. Shock absorbers. Now you have your airbag mounts. Airbag mounts should be secured to the chassis, not missing any bolts and nuts, not bent, cracked, or damaged in any way. And you have your airbags. Airbags should be secured to the mount, no bubbles, no cuts, no leaks. Airbags.
Fuel area underside. Rear brakes.
Now we have the brake chamber. Brake chamber should be securely clamped, no bends, no cracks, no leaks. Brake chamber. And you have your brake hoses. Brake hoses secured to the fittings, which is the metal tip, secured to the fittings, no bubbles, no cuts, no leaks. Brake hoses. Now here we have your push rod and your slack adjuster. Push rod and slack adjuster on the top. Securely mounted, no missing parts, no damage, no more than 1 inch of play. Push rod and slack adjuster. Next we have the lining and the drum. Brake lining should not be less than 1/4 of an inch or not dangerously thin, not damaged or cracked. And right next to it we have the drum. Brake drum securely mounted, no bends, no cracks, no illegal welds. And between your lining and your drum, you should have no debris. No debris in between.
Fuel area underside. Rear of tractor.
Mud flap. Mud flap should be securely mounted, not missing any bolts and nuts, not frayed or damaged, should be off the ground and off the tires. Mud flap. Now we have our tractor rear lights. Here we'll include our tail lights, also known as city lights, brake lights, right turn blinker, left turn blinker, and 4-way flashers. Clean, secure, no cracks, and proper color. Semi-trailer.
Trailer front.
Now we're going to be starting off part C. Part C will include the trailer, the landing gear, and the rear axle. Okay, here we're going to start off with the header board. The trailer header board should have no cracks, no holes, no dents, any kind of damage, and no missing rivets for the header board. And you have your marker lights on top. Marker lights clean, secure, no cracks, and proper color. Marker lights.
Semi-trailer. Side of trailer.
Now we have your side door. Side door, start off with the hinges. Hinges are present, secure, no missing bolts, no damage. Hinges. Your side door. Side door is secure, not cracked, dented, no holes, and working properly, open and closes. Door latchet or door handle. Secure, not damaged, and also working properly. Door latchet. And you have your DOT reflector, should be present, clean, and no damage. Side door. Now you have the side of the trailer completely. Side of the trailer shouldn't be cracked, no holes, no dents, no sort of damage, no missing rivets. And your reflectors on the trailer, present, secure, clean, and not damaged. Trailer. Now we have the landing gear. Landing gear should be secured to the trailer. All mounting bolts present, not bent, not cracked, no damages, no illegal welds. Landing gear. And you have your crank handle. Crank handle is secured to the landing gear on both ends. No bends, not damaged, and should be working properly. You have your landing gear pads. Landing gear pads are present, secure, not bent or any damage, and all the way up. Landing gear shoes. Chassis or frame. Chassis securely mounted, no bends, no cracks, no illegal welds. Chassis or frame.
Semi-trailer. Trailer axle.
Tires. Could be recap. Same size. Could be recap. Same size. Could be recap. Same size. Tire tread. Tire tread 232. Tire tread. No bubbles, no cuts, no damage. Tires. Rim. Rim securely mounted, no bends, no cracks, no illegal welds. Rim. Lug nuts. Lug nuts present, secure, no rust around. Lug nuts. Axle seal or hub seal. Axle seal securely mounted, cap present, no leaks, and proper level. Axle seal or hub seal. Valve and stem. Valve and stem, cap present, no damage, no leaks. Valve and stem. I would check my air with an air pressure gauge. Proper pressure. Proper pressure. The rims buddy. No debris. The rims buddy. No debris.
Semi-trailer. Trailer suspension.
Next we have our leaf spring hanger or our leaf spring mount. Now on the rear axle, you have to let them know that back here it's welded instead of bolted. So leaf spring hanger, securely welded at the front and the back. No bends, no cracks, no illegal welds. Leaf spring hanger. And you have your leaf springs. Leaf springs, securely mounted, not missing, not shifted, not cracked. Leaf springs. And our U-bolts. U-bolts, present, secure, no missing nuts. Present, secure, no missing nuts. U-bolts. Torsion bars. Torsion bars. Securely mounted, no missing bolts and nuts, no bends, no cracks, no illegal welds. Torsion bars.
Semi-trailer. Trailer brakes.
Next we have our brake chamber. Brake chamber securely clamped, no bends, no cracks, no leaks. Brake chamber. And our brake hoses. Brake hoses are secured to the fittings, no bubbles, no cuts, no leaks. Brake hoses. Now back here we have our push rod and our slack adjuster. Push rod and slack adjuster securely mounted, no missing parts, no damage, no more than 1 inch of plate. Push rod and slack adjuster. Now here we have our lining and our drum. Your lining can't be less than 1/4 of an inch or not dangerously thin, not damaged or cracked. Brake lining or brake shoe. And right next to it you have your brake drum. Should be secure, no bends, no cracks, no illegal welds, no damage of any sort. And in between both pieces should be no debris, free of debris between lining and drum.
Semi-trailer. Rear of trailer.
Mud flap. Mud flap securely mounted, not frayed, off the ground, off the tires. Mud flap. Here you go. Now back here we have our rear marker lights. Marker lights should be clean, secure, not cracked, and proper color. Marker lights. And down here we have our trailer rear lights, which include our city lights, our brake lights, both blinkers, and our 4-way flashers. Also clean, secure, no cracks, and proper color. Now we have our trailer doors. Trailer doors. All hinges should be present, secure, not missing pins or bolts. Hinges. Your trailer doors are secure, not cracked, no holes, no dents, and should work properly. Trailer doors. And you have your door latchet, both of them secure, not loose, no bend, no damage, and also working properly. Door latchet. And your reflectors. DOT reflectors should be present, clean, not damaged in any sort of way.
Coupling area. Track door.
Now here we're starting off our coupling system. We have 2 hoses and a cable. You have your blue hose, which is your service hose, the red hose, which is your emergency hose, and the green one is your electrical line. Now starting off with the hoses. Your hoses should be secured to the fittings on your tractor, secured to the glad hands on the trailer. Glad hands should be locked in place, seal gaskets should be present, secure, and not frayed. Your hoses should be flexible, no bubbles, no cuts, no leaks. Now your electrical wire or electrical line or electrical cable should be securely connected to your tractor and securely connected to your trailer. No missing bolts and nuts on either side. Cable should be flexible, not damaged or frayed. And the last thing here, your 2 hoses and your electrical line should be off the tractor and off the trailer.
Coupling area. Coupling system.
Now here we're starting the coupling with the apron. Your apron should be secure to the trailer. No bends, no cracks, no illegal holes, no sort of damage. Apron. And we have the kingpin. Kingpin is secure to the apron, not bent, not cracked, not twisted, not damaged in any sort of way. Kingpin. And we have the 5th wheel. 5th wheel secure to the platform, not bent, not cracked, no sort of damage, and all pins should be present and secure. 5th wheel skid plate. And you have your platform. Platform is secured to the frame, not bent, cracked, or damaged, and all mounting bolts present and secure. Platform. And we have the locking jaw. Locking jaw should be secure around your kingpin and not be damaged in any way. Locking jaw. Now here between your apron and your 5th wheel, you should have no space and it should be fully greased. Next we have your release arm. Your release arm should be secure, should be all the way in, not damaged in any sort of way, and should be working properly. Release arm. And make sure all mounting bolts are present, secure, and not missing any nuts. Mounting bolts.
Inside cab inspection. Inside cabin start engine check.
Now, last thing we have left here is our cabin inspection. Once you're getting into the vehicle, you must get in with the 3-point contact. Hand on the grab handle, right foot first always. Right foot, left foot, right foot. 3-point contact. Once you get off the vehicle, you can get off the same way. And the most important part, always get off backwards. Backwards, never forward. And climbing on, right, left, right. Now your cabin inspection will be mandatory with the vehicle on. But before turning on the vehicle, we're going to do 3 things with the ignition open only. First thing we'll be doing is checking our ABS system. We're going to check it with the light that we get on the dash. Light comes on, turns back off, system is working properly. If the light stays on, there's a problem with the system. It's a warning sign. So first thing I'm going to tell them is checking ABS. Open your ignition. We get the ABS light here. Yellow light says ABS. And it turned off. So ABS is working properly. Next thing you're going to do with your ignition on is your light check. First you're going to do an external light check and then an internal light check. Okay, lights outside should be working properly because we can't see them. So I'm starting off with your headlight. Headlight will be right here. Headlight should be working properly. Headlight. Then you got your high beam. High beam should be working properly. High beam. You have your blinkers. Right turn blinker, left turn blinker. Should be working properly front and back. You have your 4-way flashers. 4-way flashers should be working properly front and back. And you have your brake light. Brake light should be working properly. That's your external light check. So here we're going to be checking our ABS. ABS will open the ignition. Light comes on, turns back off. System is working properly. If the light stays on, it's warning you that something's wrong with the system. So checking ABS, open your ignition. Here we have the ABS light. And it turned off. ABS is working properly. Now you have your internal light check. Right turn blinker, left turn blinker are working properly. Working properly. You have your 4-way flashers. 4-way flashers also working properly. Working properly. And you have your high beam. High beam working properly. Last thing we're going to do before turning the truck on is a safety start. We're going to make sure that this truck is in neutral and that your parking brakes are on. Valves pulled out. So neutral, we hit the button a couple times. Make sure we're in neutral. Make sure our valves are pulled out. And we turn the vehicle on to do the cabin inspection. Now the cabin inspection, I'm starting off with the mirrors. Your mirrors in here should be adjusted to you or adjusted to the driver. Your mirrors. Seat belt. Your seat belt should be secure on all points, not damaged or frayed, and should be working properly. Latch it on. Latch it off. Seat belt. Now you have emergency equipment. Your emergency equipment, we're going to start off with your fire extinguisher. The fire extinguisher should be secure to the floor, not damaged, and should be full. Fire extinguisher. Next you have your fuses. Truck should have 1 box of fuses or 6 spare fuses. 1 box of fuses or 6 spare fuses. And your last emergency equipment are triangle reflectors. Truck should have one box or 3 triangle reflectors, and those are your emergency equipment. Now moving on to the windshield. Your windshield should be secure, not cracked, clean, no illegal stickers, and your seal gasket should be present, secure, and not frayed. You have your windshield wipers. Windshield wipers should be secure, should be working, and the blades should not be frayed or weather worn. Windshield wipers. You have your washer fluid. Washer fluid should be working properly. Washer fluid. And you have your heater and defrost. Heater and defrost. Turn them on. Heater and defrost should be working properly. Heater and defrost. Onto your gauges. Gauges, we're going to have 4 gauges. Your first 3 gauges, you don't need a number, just the proper range. And your last gauge, between 120 and 140. So the first gauge we have here is your water temperature gauge. Water temperature should be proper range. Next gauge would be oil pressure. Oil pressure also proper range. Third gauge would be your voltage gauge. Voltage gauge should be proper range. Voltage. And you have your air gauges. Your air gauges should be between 120 and 140. And those are your gauges. Next we have the horns. You have a city horn and you have your highway horn. Just making sure that they're both working properly. So city horn is working properly and your highway horn is also working properly.
Air brake check. Service brake test.
Last thing here we have left on the cabin is the most important of all, are your 5 brake steps. Your 5 brake steps are mandatory to pass the test. You cannot miss one. Okay, now the first step we're going to be checking is your service brake. Service brake will be your regular brake. Okay, we're going to move the truck forward from 5 to 10 miles an hour. Press on the brake to see if your steering wheel pulls. If your steering pulls while stepping on the brake, your brake needs to be adjusted. If it doesn't pull, then your brakes are working properly. So let's check. Release the brakes. Put it on drive. Move forward. Put your steering as straight as possible here. Let go of steering, let go of your brake, let the truck roll from 5 to 10 miles on its own. Then we hit the brake to see if your steering wheel pulls. So steering wheel straight and we let it go. Let it move and hit the brake. Steering wheel didn't pull, so my brakes are working properly. They're properly adjusted.
Air brake check. Parking brake check.
And that was your first step, checking your service brake. Now your second step, we're going to be checking the parking brakes individually. But you're going to check it to see if your parking brake holds the vehicle while on drive. So I'm going to go with my trailer brake first. Release the tractor brake. Leave the trailer brake on engaged and put the vehicle in drive to see if the trailer brake holds. Didn't move, your trailer brake is working properly. Now we always go back to neutral. Pull out your yellow valve and do it the other way around for the tractor brake. So I will release the trailer brake, leave the tractor engaged, put it on drive to see if it holds the vehicle. Also didn't move. So your tractor brake is working properly. Now always back to neutral. Especially the second time. Have to go back to neutral because now we're going to leave the truck with no brakes. Both brakes off. And you cannot take the brakes off with the vehicle in drive because you failed the test. So always back to neutral.
Air brake check. Lab test.
You have 3 steps left. To be able to do your last 3 steps, you have to have your system open. Both airlines open. So I'm already on neutral. both airline system open, and we move on with the last 3 steps. Okay, now the last 3 steps, we're going to turn off the vehicle to do them. But before turning them off, we're going to make sure we have enough air in the system to do the last 3 steps. Okay, so before turning off the vehicle, we're going to accelerate to fill up the air tank to the governor, to the cutoff. Okay, cutoff has to sound. And try not to go over 10. 10 RPM is enough, more than enough. And we're listening for our cutoff, the governor. And there's our cutoff. Tank is full. Now your last 3 steps, like I told you, with the vehicle off. So we're going to turn off the vehicle, but we're going to open our ignition so we can have power on the dash. Now on to the 3rd step. 3rd step, we'll be checking for leaks. Checking for leaks, we're going to press and hold the service brake down for a full minute. Looking here on the air gauge to see if you lose 4 pounds or more within that minute. If you lose 4 or more, your truck has a leak. If you lose 3 or less, you have no leaks. So we're going to hold the service brake down for the minute, but before we have to let the air lines fill up. So what we're going to do is press the brake, let the needle jump, the amount that's going to jump, 5, 10, 15 pounds. Once the needle settles is when we start counting the minute. Holding the brake, watching for the 4 pounds. So checking for leaks. Press and hold service brake. Let the needle jump so the airlines can fill up, and we start counting. Now here what we're looking for is 4 pounds. Each line here represents 5 pounds. So needle stopped a little bit after the line. A little bit after the next line will be 5 pounds, and on the line will be 4 pounds. So if I lose my 4 pounds, I don't have to wait the full minute. I release the brake and let them know that the truck has a leak. But if I don't lose the 4 pounds, then the minute is mandatory. After the minute, you can release the brake and tell them it has no leaks. So, needle hasn't moved since it stopped. So we keep waiting for the minute. And you release the brake after the minute. No leaks. No leaks. This vehicle has no leaks. And that's your 3rd step, checking for leaks. Now your fourth step, we're going to check the alarms on the vehicle. Check if the alarms are working or if they're not working. Your alarm should go off when your air pressure drops to 60. So warning alarm to check your vehicle while you're losing air. Okay, so to be able to get the needle to drop to 60, we have to pump the service brake. Pump it to get it down to see if the alarm works. So, alarm should go off at 60 psi, checking alarms, and pump the brake. And alarm is good, or alarm is working. And that's your 4th step, checking alarms. And your last step, the 5th one, we're going to check our emergency brakes. We're going to pump the brake once again to get the pressure between 40 and 20, and your emergency brakes should activate. So your number between 40 and 20, checking my emergency brakes, and pump the brake. And your emergency brakes are working properly. And that concludes your 5 steps and the cabin inspection.